Adolf Hitler's early life was marked by instability and familial discord. Born in 1889 in Braunau am Inn, Austria-Hungary, he was the fourth child of Alois and Clara Hitler. Alois, a customs official, was a strict disciplinarian who cast a long shadow over the young Hitler. Clara, significantly younger than her husband, doted on Adolf, becoming a source of solace in a household often punctuated by his father's temper. This tumultuous dynamic would leave an indelible mark on Hitler's personality. The family relocated frequently due to Alois's profession. This constant uprooting made it difficult for young Adolf to form lasting friendships or establish a sense of belonging. He attended 5 different elementary schools during this period, hindering his academic progress. Despite these challenges, he displayed an early aptitude for drawing and a fascination with war games, foreshadowing his later obsessions. However, tragedy struck the Hitler household when Adolf's younger brother, Edmund, died of measles in 1900. This loss devastated the family, particularly Clara. Adolf, deeply affected by his mother's grief, withdrew further into himself. His academic performance plummeted, and he developed a rebellious streak, challenging authority figures and engaging in petty acts of delinquency. This period of upheaval and loss planted the seeds of resentment and instability within the young Hitler. It was during these formative years that the ground was laid for the volatile and dangerous personality that would emerge in adulthood. The world would come to know this man as the architect of unimaginable suffering and destruction. However, in these early years, he was just a boy, grappling with loss and instability, unaware of the dark path that lay ahead. The death of Alois Hitler in 1903 further destabilized the family. Adolf's relationship with his father had always been strained, marked by clashes of will and temperament. With Alois gone, Adolf became increasingly withdrawn and isolated. He continued to struggle in school, his earlier academic promise now a distant memory. Despite his poor performance, Adolf clung to romantic notions of becoming an artist. He spent hours sketching and dreaming of attending the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. His aspirations were encouraged by his mother, who saw in him a spark of creativity that could lift him from his circumstances. However, this dream would be short-lived. In 1907, Clara Hitler received a devastating diagnosis: breast cancer. Adolf, now 18, was crushed. He had always been close to his mother, and her illness shattered his already fragile emotional state. He channeled his grief and anger into rebellion, dropping out of school and immersing himself in a world of fantasy and escapism. He spent his days wandering the streets of Linz, frequenting opera houses and museums, lost in a world of art and grandeur. He devoured adventure novels, immersing himself in tales of heroism and conquest. These stories, far removed from the realities of his own life, fueled his growing sense of grandiosity and his desire for something more, something extraordinary. Vienna, the cultural heart of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, held a powerful allure for the young Adolf Hitler. He saw it as a city of boundless opportunity, a place where he could reinvent himself and escape the shadow of his past. In 1908, armed with a small inheritance from his father, he set off for the imperial capital to pursue his artistic dreams. However, Vienna would prove to be a crucible, forging his hatred and shaping his worldview in ways he could never have imagined. Rejected twice by the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts, his artistic aspirations were dashed. Adrift and increasingly destitute, he was forced to scrape by on odd jobs and handouts. It was during these years of hardship and disillusionment that Hitler was exposed to the virulent anti-Semitism that permeated Viennese society. He devoured cheap pamphlets and newspapers that peddled racist ideologies, blaming Jews for the city's social and economic ills. He listened to the fiery speeches of politicians who scapegoated minorities, exploiting fear and prejudice to advance their own agendas. Vienna, once a symbol of hope and opportunity, now represented everything Hitler had come to despise. Cosmopolitanism, multiculturalism, and the perceived dominance of Jews in various aspects of society. He retreated further into himself, his resentment festering, his worldview hardening into a toxic brew of anger, resentment, and racial hatred.